In this video, we're going to have a very good understanding of roles and responsibilities of a solution architect. We are in fact going to take a look at a sample job done by a solution architect by actually designing and breaking down a solution to deploy a dynamic website on AWS Cloud. So as a solution architect, out of many things that you do, your primary responsibility is to design and implement cloud solutions using, of course, AWS. And that should meet the specific needs of your client or the organization, while also keeping in mind things like security, fault tolerance, cost optimization, scalability, etc., just to name a few. And you would either be hired to work for an organization or somebody will hire you to go work for their clients. Either way, your typical roles and responsibilities as a solution architect would be as follows. First of all, you would gather the requirements from your clients, and you must understand the business and technical requirements of your clients or the organization. So this could mean identifying the goals of your project, analyzing existing system if they have one in AWS, and determining what features and capabilities the AWS solution must have, all such sort of things. Next, based on the requirements, you must develop a high-level architecture that highlights the necessary AWS services such as EC2, S3, RDS, etc. You must also ensure that the design would meet all the non-functional requirements as well, such as scalability, availability, security, cost optimization, etc. Cost optimization, I must say, is one of the crucial jobs of a solution architect, and it is your ability to optimize the cost by advising the right solution, which will differentiate a good architect from a not so good architect. After all, one of the reasons for an organization to migrate to cloud is to cut the costs of having to procure and maintain their own servers. Next comes the actual implementation. After having a ton of meetings and after finalizing the solution, the next obvious thing to do is to plan to implement it. As a solution architect, you're responsible for ensuring that the AWS solution is deployed or implemented correctly. This includes configuring the necessary services, creating and managing the infrastructure, or deploying the solution, and even taking care of guiding the team in the right direction in that transition. Once after you implement, probably after having a decent number of sleepless nights, next comes the testing phase, where you're expected to oversee the testing and deployment of the solution to ensure that it meets the requirements and performs as expected. You would obviously face a ton of challenges and surprises while testing things out. You might come across with challenges that were previously not anticipated. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your fault. It can also be someone else's fault. For example, maybe the client or the organization you're working for had change in their plans. Or they might have their business challenges like budget, for instance, sorted wrong. But you're the one who must take all that responsibility on your shoulders. Ever wondered why solution architects are paid so high? Well, now you know. After testing is done and making sure things are smooth, at least 90%, you must ensure that the AWS solution is secure and compliant with relevant standards and regulations. Security, I must say, is number one priority, even above the cost optimization actually. So your job here includes things like implementing encryption, access control, continuous auditing, etc. Next comes the documentation, where you would basically document the design, implementation, and operation of the AWS solution, etc. So you would basically involve in jotting down the architecture diagrams, writing the configuration and deployment scripts, or creating user guides and all such sort of things basically. Meanwhile, you'll keep dealing with the challenges from previous steps. It's not that you deployed the solution and you're done. You have to then take care of providing necessary support and maintenance as well. So here you may do things like monitoring and troubleshooting issues, implementing the changes, managing the updates, all such sort of things basically. It's a continuous process. You're going to keep getting challenges to sort, and that's a good thing in a way, because that's what will keep your job alive, to be honest. So don't expect things to be super smooth. It's actually bad for you in an odd way, of course. Anybody can create a solution and get the job done. But what differentiates a good solution architect from a bad solution architect is their ability to design a resilient, fault-tolerant, secure, and scalable architecture, which is where you're tested on your abilities and skills. Now, this is a sequence of your job in a perfect scenario, but realistically speaking, you might need to jump in at any stage. For example, you might come across with a client who is already having their infrastructure on AWS, but they want you to be their advisor to optimize costs, let's say. Or they might be facing challenges and they want you to lead their team, or you might as well be hired as a contractual employee to train and guide their team. So the AWS Solution Architect is responsible for ensuring that the AWS solution meets the specific requirements of the client or the organization, while also being secure, scalable, reliable, and cost-effective. By the way, you can also be an independent consultant, but then you need to know how to market yourself. If you cannot market yourself, then you need somebody who does that, meaning get hired by an organization and work for them. Let us now take a look at a typical job description of a solution architect. So here is the typical job description of a solution architect. Instead of me reading out all these, I want you to just pause the video and go through this real quick. Next, let's take a look at a sample job done by a solution architect by actually designing an architecture to deploy a dynamic website. Link to that video in the description below. Do check it out. Also, if you want to become a solution architect, you must check out my course. The link of it is again in the description below. Do like and subscribe before you go. Thank you.